America has been overrun with illegal aliens. Our borders no longer have any purpose. About 20 million have entered our country. According to the experts, America spends over $100 billion a year to maintain illegal aliens. Simply stated, we have an alien nation living within our borders. Ancient Rome was confronted with the same problem when they allowed aliens to enter the Roman Empire for protection. They became such a burden, they eventually wanted their own country within the Roman borders. Rome did not allow this, so the aliens sacked the
We need a question, sir. Please ask a question.
Okay, well, I just want to frame this in my way.
That's a great speech.
Okay, okay, and I will. America is being sacked economically, year after year. My question, how will you get the illegal aliens out of America? Are you willing to stop their economic support and let them self-deport? Will you use the bully pulpit and get them out?
Thank you, sir, for that question, and thank you for your passion as well. You know, I think the question you were asking is an example of one of the many issues on which there is widespread agreement outside of Washington. Washington is ignoring where the American people are.
You're here.
Outside of Washington, there is overwhelming agreement, bipartisan agreement on immigration. Number one, that we finally have to secure our borders and stop illegal immigration. In the Senate, I introduced legislation to triple the Border Patrol, to increase fourfold the rotary wing and fixed wing assets on the border to apprehend people coming in illegally, also to put in place a secure biometric exit-entry visa system. 40% of illegal immigration comes not from people crossing illegally, but from people overstaying their visas, and putting in place a strong e-verify system so that people cannot receive employment unless they are legally in the United States of America. We know how to do this. What is missing is the political will to get it done. Secondly, I think there is overwhelming bipartisan agreement outside of Washington that amnesty is wrong. That it is inconsistent with the rule of law, and it is profoundly unfair to the millions of legal immigrants who followed the rules and waited in line. And third, outside of Washington, I think there is considerable bipartisan agreement that we need to improve and streamline the legal immigration system. That we should continue to be a nation that doesn't just welcome, that celebrates legal immigrants, what Ronald Reagan referred to as Americans by choice, those who follow the rules and come here seeking the American dream. I think the key to answering this question is to focus on those areas of bipartisan agreement, and you have my word, that's exactly what I intend to do in office. Yes, ma'am.
As opposed to the way our emperor handled the Tamarisi and Bergdale
Yes.
situation, what would President Cruz do?
Well, and those are a great contrast. Bergdahl, that entire transaction was shameful. Number one, we saw the stunning but not surprising news that it appears the military is going forward with a prosecution against Mr. Bergdahl for deserting his post. Now, the military justice system needs to proceed. It needs to follow the facts and evidence, and if he's guilty of that crime, he should be convicted of it and convicted fairly in a military justice tribunal. However, it makes no sense whatsoever for us to be negotiating with terrorists.
You're here.
The idea that we released the Taliban five senior Taliban leaders, we sent them back and they will only return to waging war on America, how exactly does the Commander-in-Chief look in the eyes of the mother of the soldiers who died trying to capture the Taliban 5? You're right.
Or the people who died in attempting to find him.
Or attempting to find Sergeant Bergdahl. I mean, it is indefensible, and it is one manifestation of an unwillingness to take seriously the responsibility of Commander-in-Chief to defend this nation.
You're here.
Now, on the other hand, with Sergeant Tamarisi, a Marine wrongfully imprisoned in Mexico, who took a wrong turn and was charged for exercising his Second Amendment right, a Commander-in-Chief should stand up and demand of the nation of Mexico release Sergeant Tamarisi now. And Connie, let me give a final point that's a word of encouragement. Look, as we look at the domestic economy, as we look at the state of the world, it's easy to be discouraged. It's easy to think, Michelle, that the world is on fire. But I want to remind you how quickly things can turn around. In 1979, things looked dire. We had double-digit unemployment, we had 22% interest rates, we had gas lines around the block, we had our hostages languishing in Iran for 444 days. And yet, when the Reagan Revolution came from the American people and swept in, our hostages were released the day Ronald Reagan was sworn into office. We went from economic stagnation to, by 1984, the fourth year of Reagan's presidency, after he followed what? Tax reform and regulatory reform, booming economic growth, 7.2% growth in '84, which means millions of small businesses, creating millions of jobs, opportunity for young people to achieve the American dream. And within a decade, we won the Cold War without firing a shot and tore the Berlin Wall to the ground. With new leadership, everything changes. We did it before, and Connie, I promise you, together, we can do it again. Thank you. God bless you.
Last week, was it just
GrokTV.